Hello, and welcome to Something Witchy, usually a Sabrina the Teenage Witch rewatch podcast. I am Laura Cotter.
And I'm Skye Orchard.
And we have a special holiday episode for you today. We are taking some time to spend with our friends and family, so we decided to go a little outside of the box and watch Holiday Mismatch, which is a Hallmark movie starring Caroline Rhea and Beth Broderick. So we'll be discussing that today. Are you excited, Skye?
Ooh, Hallmark movies.
To start off with, I still do have a question of the episode, and it's kind of cheesy. What are some things you are thankful for, Skye?
Oh, that is cheesy.
It is cheesy.
Cheese. The dairy kind or the cashew kind.
Wait, the cashew kind?
Have you never had cashew queso from Trader Joe's?
No.
It's fantastic.
Okay.
A lot of your vegan cheeses, I think, are cashew based.
Interesting.
From what I've seen. Anyways, being more serious than cheese there. My kitty cats, my friends, getting to do this with you, books, just the whole gambit there.
Those are some nice things. I like those. Mine are obviously very similar, like family, friends. The older I get and the more people I meet, the more I realize how very lucky I am to have the family that I have. Especially recently, I'm grateful for them. Love that you and I started doing this. Grateful for like my job, my home, all that. I'm also grateful for all of the people that listen to this. I'm kind of surprised we have people who listen to it.
I know, right? Imposter syndrome is real. It's like we're just talking to ourselves.
It still doesn't feel real. But I wanted to read a nice little email we got, and I wanted to read it on this episode rather than the next Sabrina episode we record, because then we wouldn't hear it until like March, because we're so far ahead in recording.
We got mail.
We have mail. We have fan mail. Did you see it in the inbox?
No, I don't check the inbox. Your social media, your all those communication stuff. I want the Blues Clues song is now in my head. You just got a letter.
We just got a letter. Are we going to get sued if we sing it?
No.
Okay. Steve wouldn't sue us.
No, Steve's here for us.
All right, so I'll read you the letter. It's really cute. It says, just wanted to say hello and let you both know how much I'm enjoying your podcast. Having grown up in the 90s with Sabrina, I recently decided to revisit it, and much to my delight, it's every bit as fun as I remembered. I stumbled upon your podcast at the perfect time, and I'm thoroughly enjoying your post-episode commentary and analysis. Listening along feels like having a good gossip with my friends. Thanks for keeping me company on my walks and commutes, and I can't wait to experience the rest of Sabrina alongside the two of you. I have a feeling it's going to be a magical ride. All the best, Joe.
Joe?
Isn't that so sweet?
Oh.
I also had my friend Leanna reach out to me over Instagram and said that she and I used to work together, and then the trader that she is, she moved to Washington, and she was like, I listen to you while I'm on my walks on Fridays, and it feels like we're still working together because I get to hear you every Friday. And I was like, oh, that's so sweet.
Thank you, fans.
So thank you. We're grateful for you.
Always.
All right. Should we do this? Holiday Mismatch.
Let's dive into it. I almost bought some oat nog today at the store.
Oh.
And I should have. I forgot we were recording this.
Oh.
So I'd be having like some oat nog right now, sipping it while we record. But, win some, you lose some next time.
If you are planning to watch this movie like Skye and I did, be warned, it is a 2-hour movie with commercial breaks. Luckily, I started it early enough in the day that I got through 2 viewings of it, but have a chunk of time set aside to watch it.
Meanwhile, I just literally finished it before we just hit record. So,
well, it's fresh. It is fresh in our minds.
We'll see how fresh.
The description for this movie is new retiree Barb joins a holiday committee but clashes with long-standing member Kath. When they realize their kids have started dating, they conspire to break up the happy couple. It originally aired like a week ago on November 3rd, 2024.
It's been marketed as Countdown to Christmas, so did Hallmark start their countdown like November 1st or even earlier?
I'm sure like November 1st at 12:01 a.m. the holiday movie started on Hallmark Channel. Don't they do like Christmas in July movies too?
Really?
Hallmark's basically the Christmas channel now. Our director of this movie is Caroline Lebrèche. It's French. I don't know. I'm guessing. She has some, the typical like Lifetime / Hallmark type movies. So there's like Prescription for Danger and All My Husband's Wives that are like pretty obviously like the Lifetime type movies. And then you have Sweet as Maple Syrup and Farmer Seeking Love. And then there's something Transplant. It's a TV series. Have you heard of it?
Mm-mm.
I haven't either, but there's a lot of people in this movie who have been part of it. I just kind of picked that out as interesting. Our writer for this is Sarah Wise. She doesn't have a lot of other credits, things like Siren, Just Beyond, and From Dusk Till Dawn, the series. Our stars are Caroline Ray as Kath Stone, Beth Broderick as Barbara Harrison, John McLaren as Shane Harrison from a bunch of other holiday movies, something called Lethal Soccer Mom.
So that's going on the list.
That's going on the list.
I'm typing that right now.
And something called House at the End of the Street, which I just included because it reminds me of that. Gosh, what's the movie that's on Hulu? That's like the girl in the window at the house at the end of the street, across the street.
Yeah.
Love that movie. Or show. That series is a series.
I need to watch that. I've heard it's good.
It's good. It's really good. Okay, are you adding Lethal Soccer Mom to the list?
Oh, you bet I am.
Okay, good.
Trying to not knock over my microphone while I type awkwardly here. Oh, I put in Lethal Soccer Meme, but let's make that.
Movie. That's a different movie.
Make it as a parody of Lethal Soccer Mom.
When we get through all of the Sabrina series, we'll make that movie. That'll be our next podcast project. We have Maxine Dennis as Lauren Stone. She's from things like Once Upon a Crime, Party of Five, the 2020 version, and she was in the Transplant TV series I was talking about earlier.
I'm interested about this Once Upon a Crime as well.
Yeah, there's a couple of them from it, yeah. We then have Bruce Dinsmore as Mark Harrison. You may know him as the voice of Binky Barnes and Arthur.
Binky?
Binky.
I didn't catch that at all.
I didn't either. But also, there's an Arthur podcast.
Can we be friends with them?
I'm just telling our listeners right now, if you want to stop this and just go listen to the Arthur podcast, like, I don't blame you. I would. So go listen to the Arthur podcast so we know that that exists.
If you create the Arthur podcast, email us. We'll email you.
Have you been on the Arthur podcast? Have you listened to the Arthur podcast?
I want to know everything.
Do you know about Arthur? Then we have Amanda Ip as Danielle. She was, again, also in Once Upon a Crime and in the Transplant TV series and in something called Single All the Way, which is the next Hallmark movie I want to watch. Rebecca Kroll as Yolanda Sharp, again from Transplant, Quantico, and The Christmas Checklist. Christopher Hayes as Aiden Harrison, again from Transplant, Single All the Way, and Catering Christmas. Kadeem A. Maxwell as Zeke, again, Transplant. Oliver Price as Jeff, again, Transplant, and then also Alice in Borderland. And I do not have acting credits for the characters of Doug or Jim. IMDb does not have them listed. And when you go to Hallmark Channel and look up this movie, the only two credits they have on the Hallmark Channel website are Beth and Caroline. And I forgot to sit through the credits at the end of the 2-hour movie to see if they had these two listed. We got a credit for Jeff, who I think has one line, but we didn't get credits for Doug or Jim. So what are your overall thoughts on this movie, Skye?
It was definitely a Hallmark movie.
Mm-hmm.
All the tropes of a Hallmark movie there. Actually, once again, my brain. I forgot we were doing this today until you texted saying this movie's long. And I was like, what movie? Mild panic. I was actually at book club this morning with some friends, and a friend brought up that she likes to do Hallmark bingo.
Oh,
With like a lot of the tropes of Hallmark.
we should have done that.
Yeah, so
Aw.
I'm sure eventually we'll do another Hallmark movie and we'll have to make little bingo cards and have a fun prize if we get bingo.
Okay, if you are listening to this podcast before you watch Holiday Mismatch, find a Hallmark bingo and then do it for us. Tell us what you mark off.
Let us know if you get bingo and we'll give you a gold star.
Yeah.
Virtually.
It was just, a standard Hallmark movie. There were not any shocking surprises. I will give you the warning that I had way too much caffeine and not enough water at the time I started doing these notes. And then there's a very obvious tonal shift in my notes where either the caffeine has worn off or I've reached peak anxiety levels. I'm not quite sure which. So just see if you can hear where the notes taking changes. Tones.
I'm excited.
There was just a point 3 scenes after like the shift happens. I was like, oh, this doesn't sound the same as it did earlier.
A whole nother movie now.
So we open up to Barbara. In the summary it says Barb, but it's Barbara throughout the whole movie, so I don't know why she's Barb in the summary. But we open to Barbara meticulously decorating for the holidays. She has a discussion with her husband about her retirement and tells him she has signed up to volunteer with the Christmas committee at the Chamber of Commerce. She enters some sort of government building, but finds the doors locked and waits outside of them until Kath shows up 10 minutes late. They immediately get off on the wrong foot as Kath calls Barbara Barb, and Barbara makes a comment about her being late.
Here you have them just being very personality-wise, sort of Zelda and Hilda continuing on. And I want to see or want to know if they have any acting they've done together where it's swapped, where you have Caroline being the more strict, uptight one, and Beth being more loosey-goosey, fun.
You mean like they've been typecast, these poor women?
Yeah. You know, I said it in a roundabout way, and you said it in a direct way. So
someone literally did what I did during the writer's strike, and they watched Sabrina, and they're like, hey, what if Hilda and Zelda were not related, and they were mortal, and they had kids that started dating? Like, that's the premise of this movie. They did not have to come up with any character development because it had been done for them almost 30 years ago. Doug shows up. Both he and Kath are decked out in Christmas outfits. Barbara again puts a foot wrong by saying she didn't get the memo about the ugly sweaters. Jim comes in and introductions start. And at some point they're saying Brook Lane, but in the captions, on my captions, it said Brooklyn. And I was very confused for about half of the episode until I saw a sign that said Brook Lane on it. So I was like, this doesn't look like Brooklyn. Where in Brooklyn is this taking place?
this is a movie, not an episode.
Oh, did I say episode?
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, this movie. It's a 2-hour episode. That's just one episode.
It's a Christmas episode where Hilda and Zelda become mortals, have kids, and try and break them up. As you said.
Barbara clearly doesn't mesh with these people, but puts on a happy face. As they are leaving the chamber, they run into Yolanda, president of the Chamber of Commerce. Yolanda is the reason Barbara is on the Christmas committee, and yet they introduce themselves to each other like they have never met.
Maybe they're only email acquaintances.
How did they become email acquaintances?
Through the network. The Brooklyn network of professionals.
The Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce network.
Obviously.
But Barbara has never once shown up to a chamber mixer. She's one of those members who just pays her membership dues and doesn't show up.
I mean, she wasn't retired at that point. She had no time.
That's the only reason to go. Okay. We can't go that deep into it. It's a Hallmark movie, Laura. It's a Hallmark movie. Okay. Yolanda asks Kath for a budget she doesn't have and then makes a snide remark about Barbara teaching Kath about the business world. Once Yolanda leaves, Kath admits she doesn't have the budgets ready because Yolanda's email said they weren't due until next week. Barbara offers to help, and Kath gives her a shoebox full of receipts. Cue more passive-aggressive comments. Back home, Barbara discusses her new acquaintances with her husband, Mark, and we meet their son, who is doing repairs at a theater, which turns out to be his theater. He doesn't know much about that, but he has a staple gun and a dream.
Staple gun and a dream. That's so poetic.
I need somebody. If we ever get fan gifts, I need somebody to use their Cricut to put that saying on a plaque hanging thing that Skye can hang up in their house.
You know, I have a staple gun and I have a Cricut, so maybe I should just...
Oh, just do it yourself. Staple gun and a dream.
Staple gun and a dream.
Barbara clearly wishes her son had a more traditional job and thinks he's lonely. Her husband tries to dissuade Barbara from playing matchmaker. Kath is meeting up with her daughter while looking at a dating app that allows people to set up their friends and family members. And I really thought hard about, number one, I was like, does something like this exist? And I was like, number two, I think I would be okay, actually, with certain friends and family members doing this for me.
Yeah. Who would you trust?
I would trust probably you, but I think you would just mix everybody. I don't think you would actually pick anybody.
There's some good men out there.
I think you would be extremely, more picky than I am. I would trust Nikki. I would trust Amanda. And I'd probably trust my sister. Everybody else would probably be just no to everybody. And then I love my mom. Don't know if I trust her to set me up.
You know what your mom would do, though.
Say yes to everyone.
Well, that and put your picture and their picture into what will the baby look like
Gosh,
at
yes.
to determine whether it's a yes or a no.
Yes, I have thoughts about that later, too. Kath complains to her daughter about Barbara, and Lauren complains about her mom's attempts to set her up.
Really busted my biscuit. I really like some of these phrases they did give Caroline to say.
Yeah, that one was good. Barbara is stalking her new committee members online, and her husband gives her a jolly julep drink. I will get into this later. I think Mark might be an alcoholic. She claims it's delicious, but her face looks like it's not delicious, or maybe just very strong, which is maybe our first indication that Mark is an alcoholic.
Well, it's the alcohol content that makes you jolly.
I mean, Mark is just really baseline happy throughout this entire movie. She gets a passive-aggressive email from Kath about making turkey supper sandwiches the next day. The committee is at the senior center / nursing home the next day, and Kath passes out festive headbands, but Barbara declines. Kath and Barbara start fighting when Barbara tries to add a bit of salt to the food, resulting in the salt shaker flying across the room. And then they did a whole thing where like, oh, that's bad luck. And I was expecting something to happen, and then it didn't. They start a competition to see who can make the most sandwiches, and there's a part in there where they're bantering that something in Beth's tone changes, and I was like, is this just footage of Beth and Caroline giving each other grief? Like, and it wasn't actually scripted because it sounded like it may have just been the two of them. Barbara's team wins the sandwich competition, but the important thing is the sandwiches got made. Kath is with Lauren again, who is stressed out about her job. Kath apologizes for trying to set her up earlier, but clearly is still trying to set her up and shows her a new match on the app. They come to an agreement that if Lauren goes out with him and she doesn't like him, they will stop talking about her dating. Barbara and Shane are also arguing about dating. Barbara has found an amazing girl for Shane online. She guilt trips him into meeting her. Lauren is waiting for her date while sending a voice note to someone she works with. She's complaining about having to go on the date, and Shane overhears everything. The date ends up going well as they talk about their jobs. It's immediately clear that he's the creative one and she's the logical one, the opposite of their mothers. Shane owns a theater but is thinking of selling it because he hates the day-to-day running of it. Lauren owns an architecture firm and apparently has daddy issues that we do not discuss at all throughout this episode. She was like, oh, I'll need something stronger to talk about my dad left me, and then we just never address it again.
She hasn't gotten one of Mark's juleps yet.
That is it. They complain about their moms and dating. Shane proposes a crazy idea. They should pretend to date to get their moms to leave them alone until after Christmas.
So crazy. This has never been thought of or portrayed at all ever before in holiday movies.
What is your favorite romance novel trope?
I feel like the friends to lovers works very well in sort of the fantasy world, especially with Fourth Wing right now. No. Back it up. Back. I haven't had a Jolly Julep or any caffeine.
You sure?
Forgot to buy that oat nog. Not friends to lovers. Enemies to lovers is the big trope in fantasy right now that are also the smutty fantasy books out there.
That is my favorite trope. And I fully blame You've Got Mail for it. Because I think that's the first movie I saw that had that. And I was like, oh yeah, this is what love looks like.
But then you have the forbidden love. Twilight? Anyone?
Nothing will get to me like an enemies to lovers one. There is another one that I was thinking, I was like, oh, sometimes I like that too. Oh, sometimes like marriage or relationship of convenience can be good. That's the whole thing about Outlander. That's how their relationship starts. Relationship, not relationship.
Sometimes an Outlander.
The committee is putting together a Christmas town. Barbara and Kath start arguing about the direction of the Santa line. There's a line in there where Barbara's like, how would I know where it's supposed to go? Because you won't give me the blueprints because you keep saying they're all in your head. And what happens if you get hit by a bus? And the line, what if I get hit by a bus, is something I use weekly at work to tell people about what I'm doing. Because I'm like, if I get hit by a bus, people are going to need to know this.
That's really nice of you. I've gotten to the point where it's just sort of like, yeah, if I got in like a car wreck or whatnot, y'all are screwed. Have a good festival.
Does anybody from your work listen to this podcast?
I mean, I've told people at work. Last person standing with historical knowledge right now at this point. It's only a little daunting.
Have been there, have done that. Don't want to do that again, which is why I offload my knowledge. This argument results in Barbara storming off in frustration. Lauren and Danielle, whom I love. I want a spinoff about Danielle because her little bits and pieces of her that we see are interesting. Lauren and Danielle are working on a problem and they clearly have very different approaches. Lauren commits to working on it to get it done before the holidays because she's a workaholic. Lauren meets with Kath and tells her that Shane is great and they're going to see each other again. And Kath immediately demands that she meet him. It's been one date, Kath. Maybe this is why your daughter doesn't talk to you about her dating life. Barbara shows up for her volunteer shift, and Mark is with her and then goes to find some mulled wine. Or if you have subtitles on, it might say old wine. And this is the part where I was like, is Mark alcoholic?
Hey, 'tis the season. You gotta stay warm however you can.
Okay, Mark. She argues with Kath over accountability versus spontaneous joy. Kath tells her to go take pictures so they don't have to work together. Shane and Lauren are on a date at the Christmas Village to meet Kath. We learn that Lauren is bad at baking when she's talking about the Ho'Keefely, and I've made those before and they are very good. Lauren introduces Shane to Kath. Barbara comes over and wonders why Shane is here. Shane introduces Barbara as his mom. Shane and Lauren put it together quickly and realize that this is bad.
Very, very bad.
Kath and Barbara argue about whose fault this is. Barbara visits Shane at the theater. She gives him her very sincere support if he still likes Lauren. At the next chamber event, Barbara pulls Kath's name for Secret Santa and is unhappy about it. She then shows a picture of Shane and Lauren to Kath. They start to hatch a plan to break them up. The next day, Kath and Barbara actually have a civil conversation for a bit before turning to breaking up their kids. Barbara starts to tell her about Shane. Kath gets an idea. She's going to invite Shane and Lauren to pick out a Christmas tree. Shane and Lauren and Kath are looking at trees when Kath finds the perfect one. That's huge. And this scene bothered me because all three of them were wearing coats, but none of their coats were buttoned or zipped up, but they all had scarves on, and there's snow on the ground and snow on the windowsills.
Maybe they overheat.
Also, when are you with a group of 3 or more people and everybody's wearing a scarf?
Yeah, I rarely wear a scarf anymore.
Scarves are not that universal. I love a scarf. I'm usually one of the only ones wearing one. Kath tells Shane to get the tree for her, and he does his best. And I wasn't sure what this was supposed to be showing to Lauren. Like, oh, look at him. He can't get a Christmas tree. He's a bad provider.
He's weak. His muscles.
Yeah, this is poorly thought out, but that's not a surprise coming from Hilda/Kath.
Maybe she wanted him to accidentally take out Lauren.
Like, tip the tree over on her and kill Lauren.
Not like kill, but injure enough that she's like, no.
Lauren tries to help him. Kath texts Barbara that everything is going to plan. Shane and Lauren laugh and work together to tie the tree up, but they do a terrible job. They laugh at their effort and go get an employee to help. The three are looking at the tree in Kath's home, and it starts moving. There's a rat in the tree, and it is the most domesticated looking wild rat. That thing is pure white. It's also like not big enough to shake a tree. The way that the tree, like, I thought it was gonna be a raccoon. Like,
I'd love a raccoon in my Christmas tree. I also totally missed this rat. I'm not gonna lie, I'm reading your notes right here. I was like, there was a rat in the tree? What?
The rat runs out of the tree. Shane is terrified. Again, Shane is like terrified. He's freaking out, but Kath tells him to go get the rat. And then Lauren and Kath just watch him and laugh. He grabs a dish towel and gets the rat, but he doesn't grab the rat with the dish towel. He has the dish towel on his hand and like picks up the rat and puts the rat on the dish towel. Because this rat is trained because it's a pet rat. And then the rat starts like crawling up his arm and he runs and puts it outside. And then Lauren and Shane have like another little laugh. And I hope Shane gets a rabies shot. Like, I don't.
I need to go watch this scene that I apparently did not see at all.
Kath is annoyed that her rat plan didn't. Maybe Kath planted the rat.
Is this her rat?
You know what? That would make more sense if she planted the rat. If she went to the pet shop and got a pet rat and planted it in, that would make this scene make sense.
Is she gonna go walk out and rescue this poor domesticated rat
Probably
that's just
not.
been let out in the cold?
I doubt it.
Kath.
But I've seen a wild rat, and this thing is not the size of a wild rat. This was a small pet rat. We said we weren't going to have enough to talk about. Later, Barbara has her own idea. She's invited Lauren to see Shane's play without his knowledge. Oh, so sneaky. Kath gives her some information about Lauren, and Barbara is going to make sure Lauren gets invited up on stage. At the theater, Shane is surprised to see Lauren. More introductions to the rest of the family, the brother Aiden and brother's husband Jeff. Barbara secretly suggests to Shane that he invite Lauren up. Shane starts his Christmas Carol improv show. This is the worst scene. With suggestions from the audience, including that Scrooge is now Santa Claus.
Marley brings his message via carrier pigeon, and one other thing.
The play starts, and after some introductions, Shane goes into the audience and asks Laura to come play Marley. She refuses at first, but Shane convinces her to go.
You know, I would rather not participate in Christmas Carol improv either. And maybe this is why they were like, ooh, let's bring her to the play because it's improv.
This is why I have problems with this scene. First of all, I'm already sketchy if you tell me it's going to be an improv show, because if it's not done well, it's just painful and bad. Number two, I hate audience participation things. I hate when actors come out into the audience and just make eye contact with you. I was at a comedy show last week where the comedian did a lot of crowd work, and people in the audience, the public does not know when to stop talking because the people who volunteer just want the attention, and it just gets really awkward really fast, and the rest of the audience gets annoyed and they just want them to wrap it up so they can go back to hearing the person they paid for speak. And then number three, having to go on stage. I would not step foot in this theater. You could not pay me.
You did pretty well with Rocky Horror last year.
Because I could sit back. It was my choice to participate, and nobody around me cared because they were all drunk.
Would you go on stage, though, if it were, you know, a cute guy that you thought maybe something could happen?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not, because the fact that he invited me shows me he does not know me, so this relationship is dead.
Okay.
Like, I will go up for like karaoke because it's like I choose to do it. So if it was maybe planned ahead of time, I don't know how I would act in the moment. I think I would do it, but I'd be very uncomfortable and very unhappy with whoever asked me to do that and cajoled me into doing it. Lauren is uncomfortable, but she's a better sport than me, and she goes along with it. Also, they just happen to have props for a carrier pigeon ready to go and had the like rig thing to drop a bucket down ready to go. Okay, I mean, I don't know enough about theater. That doesn't seem like something you just have on standby.
Maybe they had an audience plant to give them their 3.
I like that theory better. I'm going with that. When her part is finished, she laughs and rejoins the audience. She smiles at Barbara, who is upset that her plan didn't work. The next day, Kath is standing next to a line of kids because Santa is missing. Barbara joins her and goes to talk to Doug and convince him to come back. And this is where we have like full Doug background, and we still don't have an acting credit for this person. If you know who Doug is, please let us know. Barbara and Kath take turns talking to him, but he refuses to open the door. They work together so that Barbara can climb into the window above the door, and they both get into the room to talk to Doug.
Barbara is going head first over this tiny window ledge, falling 10 feet down, head first. Something should have broken.
By the time she starts falling, her head's maybe like 7 feet above the ground.
Okay. She's a retiree. Not saying that retirees can't be strong, but something's gonna break, even if you're healthy.
She does Pilates, Skye.
Can you do a somersault in the air to not land on your head after doing Pilates?
Oh, maybe. Do you think Beth did her own stunt work on
I don't know. Does the stunt person have a credit?
I didn't check for that, but I don't think so. Where are stunt people listed on IMDb? Are they listed? There's no listing for stunt people on IMDb. Doug is freaking out because it's too much responsibility and he doesn't want to disappoint any kids. Kath gives him a heartfelt speech and Barbara looks surprised. Together, they convince him to go back out to be Santa. This gives Barbara the idea that they should work together to break up Lauren and Shane.
Are we gonna get another trope, this time being enemies to friends?
Oh, it's not a romance trope, but it's a friendship trope.
We shall see.
Lauren is working on her hotel model. Did you look at that model?
It wasn't great.
It was bad. I'm not an architect, but there was like a lot of surrounding area that she was like putting little people on the streets outside, and there was like a lot of other neighborhood for how small her building was. You could have scaled that down so we didn't have like
Scale up the building, scale down the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to be like a large hotel too, right?
Yeah, and it looked so out of character in the rest of the neighborhood because it was like, oh, everything else like kind of like maybe a few stories tall, and then there's like this huge building in the middle of it. Also, not to scale based on the tiny people she was putting out there. Those tiny people are actually not as tiny as they should have been based on the size of the rest of the buildings. She's not good at her job. Maybe this is why the hotel people are mad at her.
This is why she has to work 24/7.
Lauren calls Danielle to go through some numbers, but realizes how late it is when Danielle offers to cancel her date. Get some boundaries, Danielle. Lauren stops working and leaves. Shane is at the theater and hangs up a sold out sign. His brother calls him to let him know about an offer that was made on the theater. Shane refuses it. And behind him are signs for Importance of Being Earnest and Hamlet. And would you see either of those plays being done in the improv style?
No.
Shane will figure it out. Lauren shows up as a surprise. Luckily, Shane isn't in the show tonight, so they can go out, even though he's the director. Again, I don't know a lot about theater, but he has a struggling theater. And he is the director of a show that's going on tonight. Can you just, be like, okay, bye?
I mean, as a director, yes, but he looks like he's, front of house as well. So he's just abandoning it all.
Okay. I thought that was interesting, but they're both bad at their jobs.
That 20-seat theater audience is going to be going crazy. It's all sold out. There's going to be a riot. It's going to happen.
Also, did it look like they had folding chairs in the audience?
Oh, yeah. It was folding chairs.
Okay. I need a part 2 where Shane and Lauren have divorced because they're in bankruptcy. Because they both lost their jobs and they had to move back in with one of their moms. They go get hot chocolate and walk around. Lauren wonders if they should be hanging out because of their arrangement. Shane tells her it's fine, and Lauren agrees that they're friends. Shane is clearly disappointed at the word friends.
Rot-row raggy. Once again, no juleps, no caffeine, just... Where's our Scooby-Doo holiday movies? Like Christmas.
I was not expecting that. Okay. I'm okay.
I wasn't either. Just doing a little improv here, if you will.
Barbara and her husband discuss Shane and Lauren, and she tells him her worries about them as he's serving eggnog, probably with alcohol in it, because he's an alcoholic. Her husband is suspicious, but Barbara claims she just wants Shane to be happy. She calls Kath to start Operation Besties. And every time you and I hang out now, I'm going to text you that we're going to start Operation Besties.
We need cool sunglasses in order to be seen with each other for Operation Besties. We can do scarves too. We'll bring back scarves.
Scarves.
Multiple people wearing scarves.
Scarves and festive headbands. Next, we see Kath and Barbara hanging out together looking at baby photos. They try putting Shane and Lauren's photos together in a baby photo generator. And she just happens to already have that app on her phone for some reason.
It's such a freaky app in general. And not even remotely accurate. I once put a picture of 2 of my cats in, and I got a red-headed ginger baby.
How do you know it's inaccurate, Skye, if they haven't had a baby?
And don't think that it's cats to humans. It's normally cats to kittens, so.
You don't know until you try. You don't know. Maybe the app knows something we don't know. But have you ever done that with like another actual human being? Like you put yourself in somebody's face in one of those generators?
No, way too creepy. I can do my cats.
Not even for funsies? Not even like with a celebrity?
Nah.
Oh gosh, I have. When they first came out and everybody's like, ooh, put you and your crush in. And everybody did it like with Orlando Bloom. Like, yes. Barbara and Kath see how cute the baby looks, but discuss how much this is going to freak out their kids. So they understand that it's freaky and weird. And yet Barbara has this app on her phone and apparently uses it frequently. Shane is dropping off Lauren at Kath's house and realizes his mom's car is outside. Confused, the two enter the house and find their mother singing Christmas karaoke. Shane and Lauren are very uncomfortable. The moms show them the scrapbook they made too. Shane and Lauren are even more uncomfortable. Then they discuss the grant application for the theater renovations. Barbara's impressed. Shane agrees to do Christmas karaoke to avoid watching his junior high school production of the Nutcracker, but Lauren doesn't sing. She will for Shane, though. Shane and Aiden are wrapping presents for the toy drive.
And Aiden says he's not letting their dad help wrap presents because the toy would look like it was wrapped by a deranged raccoon. So step 1.
Okay.
Move to one of the states that allows you to have a raccoon. And there are states that allow you to have a raccoon.
I mean, any state will allow you if they don't find out about it.
Step 2, get a raccoon. Step 3, teach it how to rap or attempt to rap. Step 4, business. I feel like John Ralphio and Tom from Parks and Rec.
Oh, gosh. That's when you know it's a good idea, if it sounds like it came from John Ralphio and Tom. Aiden asks Shane about Lauren, and Shane tells him the truth about the fake relationship, except Shane actually likes Lauren. Who could see this coming?
What?
Aiden encourages his brother to ask her if she feels the same way, which, like, Aiden, best person with the most logical head on their shoulders. Good job, Aiden. Shane brings Laura some of the cookies her grandma used to bake. He gives her some advice on her hotel model that she is struggling with because it's awful. She asks him about his grant application. They have a cute moment and toast their cookies. Kath is on the phone with the hall and they say they don't have the reservation for the dance. Barbara steps in and sorts it out with the help of her spreadsheet. Kath is impressed.
Oh, the power of a good spreadsheet.
Also, I was expecting them to be like, oh, sorry, we don't have the hall. And then Barbara would be like, hey, why don't we hold the dance at the theater and raise money for repairs?
Not a bad idea.
And then I was like, I should write Hallmark movies. Aiden drops off some stuff for his mom, and Barbara takes the opportunity to ask about Shane's relationship. Aiden accidentally lets it slip that Shane and Lauren are just pretending to date. Shane and some others are caroling while Kath and Barbara hand out songbooks. Yolanda arrives and insults Kath. Barbara looks concerned and encourages Kath to stand up to Yolanda. They have to start, but Lauren isn't here yet. Shane looks longingly into the crowd, waiting for her. And then she arrives at the last minute. Everyone is together on the trolley singing carols, and the windows are closed and frosted, so you can't see out, and no one can see in or hear them. So why are we on this trolley ride singing carols?
You're singing to each other.
Just to each other? We're just choosing to do it on wheels? Maybe this is the only thing to do after you get out of the improv show at the theater. Everybody just goes from that onto the trolley.
Maybe it's like their designated driver trolley.
Well, I mean, Mark is there, so he probably is hammered.
That's how they get people to watch the improv, is just, here, a drink to help you get it through.
You know what? That's not a bad business model. Kath and Barbara are talking crap about Yolanda. Barbara tells Kath what she found out about Shane and Lauren fake dating. Kath is shocked. Lauren will be so upset. They decide Kath will convince Lauren to break it off. Shane and Lauren continue to bond as Lauren tells him about her need to be perfect. Shane is really chill and tells her to just relax. Not exactly, but basically. Lauren admits he's right and asks him to go to the Christmas ball together. Shane asks her to date him for realsies. Lauren makes excuses for why they can't date, but she wants to try. And they kiss.
Gross.
Kath and Barbara look on shocked.
In this part, Lauren's like, oh, I'm bad at boundaries. I have no work-life balance. I struggle to maintain social life, all this stuff. And I was like, God damn it, am I a Lauren?
We're all Laurens.
Honestly, this movie was like, oh my gosh, I spend way too much time with work. That's what I got out of this. I need work-life balance. I don't have it.
I mean, even when we're hanging out, we're doing work. This is work. Our friendship is work.
Oh dear.
And we're not even getting paid for this work.
No.
Kath and Lauren arrive back home, and Kath tells Lauren that she shouldn't see Shane anymore. Lauren asks why, but Kath won't tell her. They fight, and Lauren pulls out the big guns with, stop using me as an excuse to ignore your own life. Kath leaves as Lauren tries to take back what she said. Barbara is baking while Kath sits sadly at her counter and talks about the fight she had with Lauren. Barbara offers to talk to Lauren instead to get her to break up with Shane, and in the background there is a grand piano with stuff on it.
Even when not talking about Sabrina, piano watch continues.
If you have a grand piano, I'm going to just let you know, that is an instrument. It's not a table. It's not a desk. It's not a counter. It's not a shelf. It is an instrument of music.
A very expensive one, too.
Very expensive one. And that one looked nice. Like, it was kind of like off focus, so I couldn't tell, but it looked like it was like a navy blue. It just looked like a nice piano. And I'm just like, treat your pianos better, everybody. Your uprights, sure. Put stuff on the top of your uprights. Stop putting crap on your grand pianos, because that just tells me you don't play it and it's just there for looks. Off my soapbox. Until the next episode of Sabrina, where I see crap on the piano again. Aiden calls Shane with the good news that they have a big offer on the theater. The lights flicker out at the theater, and Shane is torn between selling the theater and keeping it. Should he stay here for Lauren, who he's known for all of maybe 14 days? Does he want to? Danielle comes back with more changes for the hotel clients, and Lauren wonders how to do it before the pitch, before staring longingly at her dress for the dance. I don't know, it's a very short scene. That's all. That is my sentence for that scene. Later that night, everyone is at the big Christmas dance. Kath, Barbara, and the Christmas committee, who don't get acting credits, do a big group hug. Lauren shows up in her dress, and Barbara watches as she and Shane talk.
And shockingly, up to this point, we have not talked about Shane's chosen attire, where he's in his Dickinson-era coattails and whatnot for the improv show, which makes sense. But then for Caroline, and I think for one other time, he's just going around in this outfit, living the Dickens dream there. So I was honestly surprised that he wasn't wearing this outfit for the Christmas dance, because he's worn it for every single other possible Christmas thing.
Oh, I didn't notice him wearing it again at other places. I wasn't paying attention to his clothes except for the unbuttoned, unzipped jacket. I saw your message, and then that made me look at everybody's outfits, and I can't figure out what the dress code is at this ball. It is a ball. Lauren's wearing a very nice floor-length gown. Kath is wearing something that you'd wear to a casual holiday party, maybe like a business casual. The people in the background, some of the ladies are in evening gowns. There's one with like a fur stole around her shoulders. And then there's another one that's wearing a knee-length skirt and looks like she just came from church. And then there's men with no ties, no jackets, their top buttons undone, and some with full jackets and ties. I don't understand what the dress code is for this evening. This is clearly a wealthy, upper middle class, mostly white town. Can we have a nice dress code? Back to the alcoholic husband.
Oh, Mark.
Barbara's clueless husband comes over as Barbara has an existential crisis about who she is without her job, and he is drinking again and tells her to cut loose. Thanks, Mark. Shane leaves Lauren alone for a moment, so Barbara moves in and tells her that Shane is pretending to date her. But Lauren admits that she knew.
Dun, dun, dun.
And here, the music in the background, there's a part of it that sounds like the beginning of the Sesame Street theme song, the da 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 da. And I started singing it in my head, and it was only like the first few notes of it, so I kept singing the very beginning of it over and over until that part of music moved on. So Lauren admits that she knew, but now the dating is real. Barbara doesn't know how it will work because they're so different, and Shane is selling the theater. Shane comes back just then, and Lauren confronts him about selling the theater and not telling her when they've known each other for a full 14 days. Why wouldn't you tell me about your big life decisions? This is where the anxiety or the caffeine started wearing. Something happened. Something broke in my brain at this point in the notes. Shane snaps at his mom. Then Kath comes over and makes things worse by admitting that she and Barbara were trying to break them up. Lauren yells at everyone, and I was like, yes, Lauren, good for you. And she leaves to go back to work, and I was like, yes, you go be an independent lady and get away from all these crazy people.
But maybe not go back to work. Go take a bubble bath. Get a drink from Mark.
Sometimes you do your best work when you're just like rage working.
And that's true.
Shane is mad at his mom for getting involved in his life and storms off too. Barbara and Kath try to figure out what happened. They actually liked each other. They accuse each other of being too involved in their kids' lives. Yolanda sees them fighting and comes over to break it up. Kath tells Yolanda that if Barbara stays on the committee, Kath will quit. But Yolanda can't choose between them, this woman that she met 20 days ago and this other woman that she's known for decades. But she doesn't have to choose between them because Barbara quits. Kath meets with Yolanda the next morning. She confronts her about how Yolanda treats her. Yolanda apologizes and they hug. All is forgiven. The other committee members come in because it's Secret Santa Day. Barbara dropped off her gift for Kath. It's a little baker's oven like she wanted when she was a child because Barbara knows how to listen, unlike Mark. Barbara talks with her husband over green juices. And do you want to place any bets that there's alcohol in Mark's?
I don't know what kind of alcohol you'd put in a green juice. Sounds gross.
Do you care when you're an alcoholic, or do you just care that there's alcohol?
I feel like he has some taste.
I mean, based off that Jolly Julep we saw earlier, he may have burned his taste buds off. Mark observes that hanging out with Kath made Barbara happy. Barbara thinks that's ludicrous. The doorbell rings and it's Kath because Barbara's husband invited her over and wanted to get them together to talk and admit that they're friends and then make up with their kids. They apologize and go to meddle one more time with their kids.
It won't be the last time.
And I'm really surprised that they didn't say, because they say one last medal, and I was expecting them to say one last medal for old time's sake. Mark is confused. That's not what he meant. No one listens to you, Mark. You're drunk.
Is he drunk or is he just a supportive, non-toxic husband? It's like a little golden retriever husband.
The subtext? The subtext. I mean, it starts at the very beginning when Mark is like, oh, you're trying to get Shane to be a real estate agent because you say, I need help selling houses. And Barbara's like, well, kind of. Like, maybe he's not doing so great at his job because he's showing up drunk to his showings. Like, we can easily take this exact same script and flip it to a Lifetime movie with slightly different emphasis on different wordings and different lighting. This could easily be a Lifetime movie.
Director's done both, right? Lifetime and Hallmark?
Yeah. I need it to be called Holiday Mismatch, but on Lifetime. And just darker.
So, Hallmark version, Mark is just your bubbly, non-toxic golden retriever who likes to have a drink. Lifetime version, raging alcoholic.
Abusive, raging alcoholic.
Weaponized incompetence.
Barbara's trying to get away from him, so she's trying to like go out and find something to do in the community. Kath ends up helping her leave her husband.
Hear about Kath's backstory with her piece of shit husband.
Mark ends up trying to kill Kath for coming between him and Barbara.
A Christmas tree with a rat? That's Mark dropping it on Kath?
We find out Shane is helping him.
The staple gun comes out in a terrible way.
We're on to something.
Market it.
Lauren is presenting her plan to the hotel people, and it's not what they asked for, but it's what she decided that they needed. She gives them her own idea, and they love it.
Her idea being that they scrap the coffee shop and just have the restaurant. And I feel strongly about this non-existent coffee shop she's trying to nix. Caffeine is important.
As we see in my notes. So, based off that model, this building is maybe really skinny and really tall. There's at least a few floors in this hotel, so why can't they just put the restaurant on another floor? There's multiple hotels I've gone to where, like, the first floor is, like, coffee shop, gift shop, check-in, breakfast area, and then, like, the restaurant's on another floor. You have multiple floors. Use them. The head hotel guide tells her he hopes they didn't ruin her Christmas with their incessant changes. Kath shows up after the meeting to talk to Lauren and apologize. They hug and all is forgiven. And then Kath takes her to go somewhere but won't tell her where, immediately ruining the promise to let Lauren live her own life. Barbara shows up at the theater, surprising Shane. He decided not to sell the theater. He got his friends to help him with the construction, and I'm sure everything will be up to code and there will be no problems and nothing will catch on fire.
Exactly.
Barbara is impressed by his adventurous spirit. Shane is impressed by watching her navigate the unknowns of retirement. Because you know what's harder than working, Skye? Not working.
You and I both will go batty if we make it to retirement in this economy.
Not gonna make it to retirement. We're gonna die at 55 in our offices the way God intended. I need to know, did the writer just retire? And she's like, you know what I'm gonna do with my retirement? I'm gonna become a writer and I'm gonna talk about how hard it was to retire.
I'm not going to actually retire. And she hasn't actually retired either, Barbara, because now she's doing finance stuff for the Chamber of Commerce. As a volunteer, but still.
Well, she's not getting paid for it.
With friendship. Friendship and holiday cheer.
Yeah, retire from friendship. Barbara and Shane hug and make up. But Shane knows his mother too well and knows there's something else she wants. She needs a favor. Kath, Barbara, Shane, and Lauren all meet on the trolley again. The mothers apologize for everything they did, then leave the kids alone. Shane and Lauren start to talk at the same time, but Lauren insists Shane start. He tells her he's not going to sell the theater. He's going to stick it out and do something that's hard. This is where I was like, he is such a privileged.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick with it. I'm not just going to use my parents' money and run away and do something else.
Learn how to use that staple gun in a dream.
Stick it out with a theater that you're going to burn down in about a month, but okay. Lauren admits there's such a thing as working too hard. You can't use work as an excuse to ignore other important things in life. Yes, you can. It's very easy, actually. They kiss and gaze at each other adoringly. Kath and Barbara walk down the street together, now friends, as they talk about the Valentine's Day committee. Barbara invites Kath and Lauren over for Christmas the next day, or whenever Christmas is. I think it's the next day. Everyone is together at Barbara's house for Christmas. Barbara and Kath talk about the future, the chamber committee, and vacations, and Mark is drinking something out of a cup that's maybe whiskey. Barbara is going to go on a silent retreat. There is a joke about how Barbara is a witch because she doesn't do sunny places, and I didn't think that was witches. I thought that was vampires.
Correct.
They all sing around the Christmas tree, and the credits roll.
And thus concludes the Hallmark movie, known as Holiday Mismatch, soon to be followed up by the Lifetime movie, Holiday Mismatch.
There's no next episode for Skye to guess what it's about because we've already done that when we originally recorded whatever episode's coming up next.
Join us on December 6th for the actual episode you thought you were getting, Sweet and Sour Victory.
There we go. In the meantime, like, share, rate, subscribe, all those things. Email us at somethingwitchypod@gmail.com if you have nice things to say about us and want us to maybe read your email on the podcast. I like waking up to nice things in my inbox. And follow us on Instagram at somethingwitchypod and on TikTok at something.witchy.pod. Until next time.
Stay magical.